welcome, and yeah, thank you for joining me. What I'm going to do is straight away, I would love if we could just have a little practice in the chat box, just so that I can check, where it is, check that, you're here, you can hear me. So in the chat box, let's just have a hello and where you are in the world. That would be amazing. And then I'll get started on introducing myself. We are talking today about relationships and attachment styles, or love styles. You might also have heard them be called, if you know them at all. They're a topic that is, or attachment styles, love styles is a topic that's very, very close to my heart, as you will probably see and hear as we go on. Hi, Julia. I love seeing where people are from, and I always encourage you to see where each other are from as well, because I just think it's really cool to see that we're all around. I'm in London, UK, by the way. Hi, thank you. Look at this, we're everywhere. UK, Lithuania, Germany, USA, amazing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to share my screen with you. Hopefully this will all go to plan. And we can start by okay, can you see that, guys? Yes, thank you. The nods are really helping. Okay, so let me start by introducing myself. So I'm Carly Ann. I'm a self-esteem and relationship coach, podcaster, and an anxious lover in recovery. The reason I say that is because that is why I love this topic so much around attachment styles. It is something that changed my relationships, and now it is my mission to help others go from feeling insecure, anxious, losing themselves in love, to feeling complete by themselves, totally irreplaceable. I always talk about feeling irreplaceable, and standing in your power as the leader of your love life. And as we go through today, I think that will sort of, what I mean by that will become clearer and clearer, what it means to stand in your power, what it means to lead your love life from a place where you feel secure and whole. So you can follow me on Instagram, but I've put that around everywhere, so you'll get to see that again. And of course, a nice little promotion there of Lessons in Love, which basically everything we're talking about today, if you relate to it, the podcast is all about it. So attachment theory, which I can see I'm the spell check queen, the spelling error queen. That is my thing, so I apologize in advance. No matter how many times I look through it, I don't spot them. So what is attachment theory? What is attachment styles? What is love styles? So that's what you're going to hear. I'm going to use them interchangeably, but your attachment style is how you respond to intimacy. It is how you relate to others, and it's your sense of security in relationships. Okay, so we all have an attachment style. I will be going through the different types today, and I will be going through management skills and tools and strategies so that you can feel more secure in your relationships. So it does refer to significant relationships. When we're talking about attachment styles, we're talking about significant relationships, but it is especially romantic relationships. But as I'm talking through this, you may well think this is like relating to other relationships that I have as well. And that is completely normal. So your attachment style is essentially your inner blueprint. So when you are finding yourself in a relationship, and that could be dating someone, it could be in a relationship, it could be someone you have met once, you have a blueprint, you have a template of how you respond, how secure you feel, and how you attach. Okay, so your attachment style is a response to your past. Now, most will say it's between the age of 0 to 2 that your real attachment style is formed, based on what you receive from your primary caregiver in terms of response to you when you're in a state of need or distress and those kind of things. That said, you can have significant experiences later on in life that can also shape how you attach and how you are in relationships. So we don't have to get too hooked on that, but generally that's what we'll be looking at. There are so many benefits to you understanding your attachment style, and I think rather than me go through them now as we go through today, that's going to kind of show itself as we talk. And if you're here, you may already have an idea of what the benefits are. There are a few things that when I'm working with people, because otherwise I can see sometimes people can get quite fixated on the attachment styles. And I should say, actually, guys, as we're going, if you have questions and comments, please do share. I've got the chat, I can see it. I'm happy to answer questions. So sometimes when I'm working with people, I think, and not even when I'm working with people, I kind of tend to see that we can get quite fixated sometimes on my attachment style or the other person's attachment style. And it's very similar to, you know, that idea when, and I'm not saying that they're not useful, but you know, we can get a little bit fixated sometimes on red flags. And sometimes I think that that's what can happen with attachment styles as well. So there's some things I do, as much as I love this, there's also some things I just want to mention as well. So you can move between your attachment styles. Okay, so everything I'm going to talk about today, because I don't want you to be thinking, oh, well, I'm stuck that's stuck there, that's going to be me, that's my relationship's done, that's how it is going to be forever. You can move between them, and it's okay if if you're like, in that relationship, I feel like I'm this style, and in this relationship, I feel like I'm this style, or even on a Sunday, I feel like I'm this style, and on a Monday, I feel like I'm this style. You know, we get different triggers and things like that. So that is a normal response. Your style is not who you are. You are much more than your relationships. You are more than your attachment style. It's not who you are. So don't take that away from today. This is just who you are. No one is better than anyone else. No one is a good person and a bad person dependent on your attachment style. And I think that's really important to say, because I think that, especially if you do find that you fall into one of the insecure attachment styles, it's a little bit problematic if you feel like you would be to blame for everything, and someone who's secure must have everything together and make no mistakes at all. That's not the case. And yeah, there's no good, bad people based on their attachment style. And you can change and grow through your attachment style. So if there are certain patterns that you're in at the moment, you can shift that, you can change that. I am living proof. I work with people who transform from feeling really, really insecure in their dating and relationships to feeling secure. Not saying they don't still have moments, but they feel more in control, and they feel like they're able to lead their own love life a little bit more. So this is a quote that I like. So you can't change the past, but the good news is you can change the patterns from your past that haven't served you well. So we can't necessarily go back and change any of it. However, it doesn't mean that you can't transform and shift your attachment styles moving forward. So basically how you show up in your relationships. Oh, you can still only see the first page. Why is that then? Can you all only see the first page? How strange. I wonder why that is. Let me stop sharing. And then you can see. What if I do this? Can you see that? That new page? Yes. Thank you for telling me. I would have kept going. The ones that you've not seen, they're fine. That's just what I was speaking about. No, I think it was all of you, but thank you. Yeah, you've not missed anything in terms of what you've seen. It's the following ones that I would want you to see. So there are primarily 4 styles when it comes to your no presentation to see. Okay. We can't see the presentation. Okay, bear with me. Can you see this? These are the pages I want you to see, so I'll definitely, can you see these? Yes, okay, so you can see that. Now I'm going to make it, you guys are great. I'm not going to now make it bigger. And then if you let me know, let me move you. If it's working. Breakthrough. For you, because of you guys though. Okay, so if I skip now, can you see the new different page? Yes. Yay. Okay, there's the quote. Although hopefully I presented the quote to you well. Okay. All right, this is good. These are the pages you definitely want to be able to see, especially if you're taking notes and things, but I know that there'll be a replay available. So the 4 styles. So, and I can see the chat. So again, if you do have questions or want to share anything, then go ahead. So the 4 styles are secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. Now, just to say, the names, they vary depending on what you're reading, what therapist you're with, they do vary. And sometimes many will only tell you about secure, anxious, and avoidant. And that's simply because disorganized is it's just the rarest out of all of them. But I'm going to go through it anyway. So let's start with, I'm actually going to start with the secure one. So secure attachment style, actually, I think a lot of people, might not be the case, often think that secure is quite rare. It's rare to come across someone secure. That's not actually the case. It's the majority of people have a secure attachment style. So someone who is secure in how they attach and relate and respond to intimacy is they tend to be comfortable with intimacy. They're comfortable with connecting with people. They're happy with space and time with someone, but they're also happy with space and time alone. They quite enjoy both. And they don't perceive things to necessarily mean that someone's going to leave or run away, abandon them, smother them, those kind of things. In an argument or conflict, they'll tend to listen. Of course, secure people aren't perfect, so they'll still get in that state of fight or flight and say things that they don't mean to, but in general, and they find the joy in being single, and they enjoy relationships as well. Okay, let's move around then to anxious. So people who have an anxious attachment style, they tend to be preoccupied with the relationship. They will not necessarily rarely, but more often than not, they want to be in a relationship. They will be single, and they can be single for long periods of time, short periods of time, but they want to be in a relationship. They're very much fixated on that relationship and what it means about them if they are single. They have a need to be close. So whether they're dating or in a relationship, they have that need to be close. And they will worry about being apart from the person they're dating, the person they're seeing, the friendship. Remember, it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. They tend to see space as a threat. Yeah, so if their partner wants to go away for the weekend with a friend, they might see that as a threat to the relationship. They tend to be quite fixated, or not fixated necessarily on this because it varies, but they're fixated on the relationship as a whole. But they will perceive things to mean that the relationship is in like danger, or there's a threat, or this person's not texting back. And automatically their thoughts are around abandonment, rejection. They've met someone better than me. They're going to meet someone better than me. It's very much automatic about them leaving. And they will often settle or chase relationships. Yeah, because it's that idea of I can't be single, I can't be on my own, because of what that means about them. So you'll see them quite often crushing on people, chasing someone, not necessarily recognizing when something's not good for them, because they're more focused on being with that person. Okay. So the disorganized I'll come to last. The avoidant attachment, they tend to see, so just to say, anxious, disorganized, and avoidant, they're insecure attachment styles. The foundations is a fear, basically, of being close to people and what that means, even the anxious ones. So avoidants tend to see relationships as taking their freedom. So it might be that when they were younger, in their early years, they might have found that they were almost like smothered and found love to be like overbearing, or the opposite. They didn't have their needs met at all. And so they've kind of learned to be that standalone on their own, don't need to be close to everyone. So they'll keep people distant. They might have had a really bad experience of being close to people, keep people distant and not open up. In conflict, they might be more likely to deflect it, to try, not talk too much about their feelings. They'll minimize closeness and pull away if they feel too close. So if they feel that connection, you might see that they will date someone for a certain period of time, and then when it gets to that closeness, they will go. They can switch relationships very quickly. So they're not always single. They're not necessarily always single, but they can move on quite quickly. Stay single, because like I say, they see love and relationships as a threat towards themselves. Disorganized, they are a lot more between the two. They may be close and then pull away. And it will be much more like walking on eggshells, lacking boundaries, can have like manipulation in there, more likely to have issues with addiction, and it's very, very inconsistent. Remember, the reason I say no one is better than anyone else is because there's usually a reason why people respond this way. And these are forms of self-protection. Until you basically decide, okay, I have a role to play in these relationships and I want to change the way that I show up in my relationships. I want to feel more secure. I don't want to push people away, or I want to be able to be close with people and be vulnerable and talk about my feelings. And when people make that decision, that's when they can change their relationships, change their life, basically. And people do very often make that decision. Now, they will date each other. It's not like secure people are only going to date secure people. That's not the way it works. People can have very healthy relationships with each other. An anxious person and a secure person can have a healthy relationship. They can find, because the secure person will, be there for the anxious person and hold space for them. What you tend to find quite often is that an anxious and avoidant, and it's not just male and female, anxious and avoidant can be quite drawn together. Yeah, so they can be quite drawn together, and it's like the perfect dance for them both, and they confirm each other's beliefs. So these two insecure attachment styles confirm each other's beliefs, because an anxious person who, I don't love this word, but I'll use it because it's universal, who can be needy, and want to know where you are, what's going on, when are we seeing each other again, I can't stand not knowing all of this, and getting really anxious. They prove to the avoidant that the relationships take my freedom. Yeah, look at this person in my space. And the avoidant person who wants to pull away, not be close, not share that, and leave suddenly, they confirm the anxious person's belief that people leave. Yeah, so they are the 4 styles. And when it comes to where you fall into, like I say, you might vary. Okay. I always said, oh yeah, mine's anxious, but I can very quickly see where I can be avoidant as well. Okay, so it often depends on who the other person is that you're with or that you're in contact with, which attachment style might present itself for you. A lot of the time with insecure, and this is the bit that people will miss, is because a lot of people that I work with, for example, will be saying, I want an available relationship. And what can transpire is that they're not available themselves. So a lot of the people who fall into one of the insecure attachment styles have experienced, and it's not to say, I do have to say it again, it's not to say that secure people have not experienced this as well. But a lot of the time with the insecure attachment styles, there is something that has led to that. That might be trauma, it might be really difficult experiences and challenges that have led to them to struggle with trust, to struggle to let people in. And so these, like I said, is forms of protection. Okay, any questions about that at all? In terms of how do we deal, how do we change, how do we shift them, I will be sharing that. That's the big question, right? But of course, just to say again, that can absolutely happen. Okay, so I've just put this here again. It's just to show where there's high anxiety, low anxiety, and avoidance. So when there is high anxiety and low avoidance, that person tends to be anxious. And you can see that as we go around. This is a diagram that's often used when we're talking about attachment styles. And that low anxiety but high avoidance will be someone who tends to fall into that avoidance style. They don't necessarily feel really anxious about it. People who are avoidant, so anxious attachment styles are often who will be coming to see me, who will want to feel more secure. Avoidant people can shift as well and can make that growth. But the thing is about it is because they are in a stage of avoiding their feelings, avoiding wanting to talk about things, it can be harder for them to make that decision to go and address all of this. But if you're here, whichever one you feel like you fall into, or 2 that you fall into, then that doesn't count for you because you're here watching this. Any questions about that? Let me see in the chat box, where do you feel like you fall out of interest? And this is what I mean about people not being as available. So what you'll find, let me use my example as someone who has been anxious around relationships and getting close and trusting people. When I am with someone, and that has happened many times in my experience from throughout my 20s and 30s, where if they are avoidant, I'm very anxious and I will get very attached very quickly. If I come into contact with someone who is secure or even anxious, I become avoidant. So someone who's available, I'm avoidant. Don't get too close. No, what does that mean? And it's because it's not familiar. Yeah, so we don't like what's not familiar. So sometimes we'll be like, why would I be hooked on someone who's so avoidant? They're often familiar to us, and vice versa. Anxious, disorganized, all styles at times, dead on the fact that it depends on the person. Yeah, it really does. Anxious, but I can see how I can have some disorganized tendencies. Avoidant, I'm in anxious, but current partner has cheated, so not sure if that's why I feel there. Yeah, very difficult situation when you have something to be anxious about. And you know, the thing is, people cheat, it happens. So in relationships, we do have that to be anxious about, which makes, that's where things can get really difficult in terms of assessing, is this my insecurity or is this real? Avoidant, oh, I've done that one. Anxious mainly, but can be avoidant. Anxious but avoidant in some cases. Secure in the sense of being really happy single, but in my past relationship, I was really anxious and also a bit anxious about future relationships. Yes. And it's usually in a relationship or in relation to someone that your attachment style will come out. You can get a clearer picture of your attachment style when you are in a stressful situation with a relationship. So when a relationship is under threat, what your response is in that moment can give a clear, not well perceived as under threat, can give a explanation of, or an idea of your attachment style. That explanation makes sense. Perfect. Okay, good. Okay, I want to make this smaller. Okay, I've got rid of the chat completely somehow, which we don't necessarily want to do, but I can't seem to make it smaller. Okay, I'll come back to the chat. So when it comes to, I always have this same approach with the work that I do, whether it's a self-love workshop I did or becoming secure. So a mind, body, soul, abundance approach, which I will talk you through. There are different stages, there's different phases to becoming secure and feeling more secure within yourself. And it always depends on where you're at. You've got to meet yourself where you are. And I'll explain what I mean by mind, body, soul. But the reason I do this is because I come from a background of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is incredible, and you know, people can change their lives with CBT, but there was always something missing for me, and that was where the body and the soul comes in. So I'm going to talk you through all what I mean by this basically. What I've done is I've given you a few ideas of how you can get started based on some of the resources that I have, so hopefully that will be helpful for you as well. So the mind is when we are looking at the mindset. You know, I've talked about what happens when you are experiencing or going through an insecure reaction, or you've got an insecure attachment style. So it's your blueprint. Remember that. And remember that it isn't who you are. Okay, it's your learned response to protect yourself when you find yourselves in situations where maybe you're being triggered and reminded of something in the past, and your mind, body and soul goes to what it knows, okay, and it goes to what it believes. So the first one is to rewrite that blueprint, rewire your mind. Okay, so this is when I'm talking about the stories that you tell yourself and the beliefs that you hold. And immediately, if you think of when we're talking about the insecure attachment styles and the secure attachment style, I was talking about the idea around what do they think about love? What do they think about relationships? Or they think that people leave, or they think that it's too much, or they're, they can take it and they can enjoy it, or they can be on their own. So it's really important to know your stories. Now, you don't have to get stuck on thinking, what is it? Because I've got this story and then I've got this story. Just think about the relationship that you want to work on right now. What's the relationship where you feel like you want to be a bit more secure in, and use it with that. In that relationship, what are the stories that you tell yourself? If you know that you want to meet someone and you're struggling with that, and you get anxious around dating, what are the stories that you tell yourself about that? Do you tell yourself that everyone leaves, that there's no good ones left? People just want to take all of my time. What do you tell yourself about love and about dating and about the relationship? What do you believe about it? Do you believe that people can be trusted? Do you believe that people stay? Do you believe that everyone leaves? And the reason I said action 1 here is for you to ask yourself, what does love mean to you? Is because this is going to really help you when it comes to building a more secure attachment style. So I've put listen to my podcast, Lessons in Love, because in that, I know some of you have listened to it. In my podcast, so I have different guests on and I ask them 3 set questions. And one of the questions that I ask is, what does love mean to you and how has it changed? And I'm sure when people listen to that, they think I'm just asking a good question about love. But actually, the reason I'm asking is because for me, rewriting my definition of love is one of the first things that gave me a real breakthrough when it came to understanding the anxiety that I experienced, when it came to understanding why I would stay in relationships that hurt, why I would chase people. Okay, it's because that was love as I knew it. Love as I knew it was unavailable, unpredictable. So when I met people who were unavailable and unpredictable and not able or willing to meet my needs, that's love, right? That's how I know it. So it was relearning that. It was relearning a truth. So a really simple exercise that you can do is ask yourself, what does love mean to you? And then what you, and for example, listen to my podcast, listen to what the other people say, because what you want to do is start opening up to other meanings and ideas of what love is. Learn about what love is. Look at healthy love. What does healthy interdependent relationships, what do they look like? Not codependent relationships. And open your mind up to that and start to rewrite the stories that you hold. Collect evidence for a new type of love. Any questions about that? And it doesn't just happen overnight, you know. When I'm working with people, we're really going out there and they're collecting the evidence, and it takes time because it's not the automatic thing that you might be doing at the moment. Okay, if there is any questions, what I'll say is, if there's any questions, if you type them as we go, and then I'll come back at the end and I'll look at them, because for some reason okay, hold on. There we go. Yeah, I'll come back to them at the end if there are any questions, okay? So body. So the reason I talk a lot about the mind, body and soul is because, like I say, sometimes we can get so fixated on just what are the thoughts, let's change the thoughts, let's challenge the thoughts. And a lot of what you have experienced in your life is stored in your body. Your emotions are often a memory from the past. Something can happen. We can meet someone. You know, a really classic example is meeting, you know, like I said about the perfect dance, they say, between the avoidant and the anxious attachments. They often have crazy chemistry. Yeah, that is because it's stored in the body. It feels like I've known this person my whole life. There's chemistry. This person is very familiar. That's often what it is. They remind us of someone that we have known, a caregiver that we have known. The more sort of chaotic a relationship, the more attached, the more hooked. Quite often, that is even more representative of that relationship, that original one. And we're often trying to make this relationship work or fix this situation as a way of fixing the past. So a really self-soothing, if anyone, and I can see some of you who do, but those of you who know me will know that I talk about self-soothing a lot. Again, because it's something that I still have to work on now. I'm not going to pretend to you guys that my thought won't still go to, they want to leave, there's someone better for them. That's my initial thought, seconds now. Okay, I used to play over it and over it and over it and call them and text them and chase them, and we don't do that now. Okay, so but it doesn't mean that that thought doesn't still come in. My physical reactions, learning about those physical reactions. So again, if you want to go into more detail, because bearing in mind we're sort of doing this in 45 minutes to an hour, I have a free downloadable that can help you with self-soothing. So feel free to download that, get your hands on that, and that will give you some more specific tools. All I mean by self-soothing is being able to soothe yourself when you are in a moment of distress and a relationship is not meeting your needs in that moment. And the more our need is being unmet, the more chaotic that we can feel inside. So one of the first steps is for you to notice your physical reactions and where your emotion is stored. Where do you feel it when you suddenly feel like someone is too much, someone's being needy, and they're making you want to reject them? You don't want to text them back now. Where are they? Like, where is that feeling is what I mean by that. My face goes so numb. My face goes numb, and it's like this out of body experience. And so now when my face goes numb, I'm able to say, hold up, what are all those tools that we've been learning? So be sure to let me know. Like, I want to know for you guys, where is it stored for you? And I'll come back and have a look. Where is it stored? Where do you feel it? Name it. Naming what emotion you feel and where you feel it can be really, really useful. People will say, give you some examples, that they meet someone typically who's available, and they get the ick. It's that nice guy is what you'll hear people say. I get the ick. They're too much, all of these things about someone who is available to them. And then they'll feel it in their stomach and they'll want to, like I say, reject that. Okay. I think maybe I hold my breath or try and stay really still. That would make sense, because it's often we will do something with our breath in those moments. So that definitely makes sense. And it's just for you to know that, because holding your breath, that exasperates everything, because your mind and body is going to be like, what is this huge threat stopping me breathing? That is very scary for your mind, and as far as it's concerned, because you've got stories going with it, as far as it's concerned, I can't breathe because this person hasn't texted me back. I know that's not the example that you've given, but hopefully that sort of puts some context to it. So that is, as far as we're concerned, that's what's happening. All of this is because this person is being too much. All of this is because of X, Y, and Z. And of course it's not, it's just that that's the reaction. I'm all about teaching people a reaction. It's done it again, instead of responding. So I don't know why every time I get the chat up, I think I'm going to have to not do the chat again until the end. I'm not going to take that risk again. Yeah, so I'm all about teaching people to respond, not to react, because unfortunately, we've got to take ownership. The reactions often push people away, especially when because even avoidant people can have this deep sense of wanting to have closeness, but we often just don't know how, because you haven't witnessed it a lot of the time. Soul. So again, this is something that's really big for the work that I do. I'm all about reconnecting you and helping you to rediscover yourself, because what I talk a lot about is that people lose themselves in love, especially when you fall into one of the insecure attachment styles. You will often lose yourself. So I'm all about rediscovering yourself so that you can go into a relationship, dating, improve your current relationship from a sense of self. It's often undervaluing yourself. It often comes down to not knowing your worth, thinking someone's going to leave you, forgetting what you bring to the table. It's all about them on a pedestal. What do they need? And we can really, really forget who we are. And You count. You count, you know, and what you bring to the table counts, and your needs count as well. So are you connected to yourself? Are you happy with how you are showing up? The first step to the soul work is, are you happy with who you're being? Are you happy with how you're showing up in relationships? And it's okay if the answer is no. That moment where we take responsibility for how we're showing up is life-changing. That's where it all begins. So all good if the answer is no. Are you being yourself? In relationships with your friends, with your colleagues, dating, romantic partners, family, are you being yourself? Look at the action that I've put there. Know what you like. Do you know what you like? Do you know what you don't like? And I don't even just mean, like, this is a whole other thing. To know what you like and don't like in relationships, that is a whole other ball game. That's going to really get you closer to that more secure relationship as you want your needs met. But when I'm talking about the soul work for you becoming more secure, this is a little bit outside of the relationships. This is kind of the bit before where it's like, do you know your worth? Do you know what you like? Are you in touch with what lights you up, with this, what lights up your soul? I've put the Follow Your Fire membership there, which actually, again, some of you are inside already. I've just launched a new membership. And it's all about rediscovering yourself when you lose yourself in love. That's the tagline. It's for women who lose themselves in love. So really check in with yourself. And a simple exercise that you can do here is this week, notice how things make you feel. What lights you up? What are your unspoken dreams? What things do you hide from the person that you're wanting to be more secure around? Who do you feel like you can't be that you want to be? And then abundance. This is that side where I work with people to say, what if you could have it all? What if you can have the secure relationship and be happy with time alone? What if you can go for the things that light you up and your dreams, and not be afraid that that means that you can't have love, or that there's not enough love or time to go around? Like, if, and when I say it out loud for the action, what I mean by that is say your dreams out loud. You've got to say it to create it. If you believe, like, think of the mindset. If you believe that there is not enough love in the world, everyone else is in a relationship, there's no one left for me, that's the lack. So I'm talking about the abundance. What if that person does exist? What if that healthy relationship is possible with someone new, or with the person you're in a relationship with now that you want to grow and move through? What if you could have that? And it's growing, it's very much related to all of the other three that we've looked at, the mind, body, and soul. All of these combined together, it really helps you to start to rewrite that template that you currently base relationships on. I fully believe that people can grow and shift and change their attachment style. I fully believe that the love that you desire, healthy love, let me say that again, healthy love, is out there and possible. And starting to just say what you want, say what your needs are. Guys, honestly, try saying what your needs are. If you struggle to say what your needs are to someone else, if you struggle to be vulnerable with someone, share your story, share what you've been through, share your anxieties about love and intimacy and getting close to people, say it to yourself. Sometimes we haven't even said these things to ourselves. Find other people who have similar experiences and spend time with them. I feel like sometimes I'm like, the reason I'm here is to help people to voice their insecurities, because especially with relationships, we can really be made to feel like, yeah, she's lovely, but she's got a crazy side. It's like, no, actually, you know, I don't have a crazy side. I have a side that doesn't know love and didn't know love, and I'm having to teach myself that now. So spend time with others who get it, but also want to grow. Don't feel stuck, you know, in that victim mentality, because that sadly means that you'll often keep repeating the same patterns, same relationships, same painful patterns, or keep blaming outwards, which again, self-protection, but it doesn't help you to grow and have the relationship and life and love that you deserve and desire. So again, I mean, I've just put the resources there if you want that. I would say have a listen to the podcast. There's a lot of information on there from amazing experts. You'll hear, like, I fangirl every guest that I speak to. You'll see that, like, they're amazing people, and there's a lot to learn from them. So if this has spoken to you, I'm almost certain that the podcast will as well. Is there, I think that's the last slide. Yeah. Is there any questions at all on any of that? Let me get the chat up. Oh, there's 7 there. Okay. I normally feel like my body stops and my breath changes, and sometimes unconsciously say something to push them away. Yes, we will often push people away. I'm just going to go through these now. I know what I don't like, but I have trouble knowing what I like. I believe this. I believe that what makes you feel good, the things that light you up, they guide you to your people. They guide you to your people. They guide you to your next, it doesn't have to just be people, your next move in terms of what your dreams are, new habits, new goals, new hobbies, whatever it might be. So the only way to find out what you like is to experiment. And it's a good thing knowing what you don't like, because you know not to do those. Sometimes you just have to go with a gut feeling of things that a really good one is to think about what's like lit you up in the past. And it might be that you're afraid to do those things again for certain reasons. So there is an element of being brave. And if you really don't know, get out there and experiment. I get confused with being genuinely easygoing and not minding, but then don't know when I need to say what my needs are. The question would be, do you know your needs? I don't know when I need to say what my needs are. There aren't many times not to say what your needs are. Yeah. I would say know your needs. We don't have to be like really express them in this assertive, like harsh way. That's not helpful either. The way that we communicate is very important, because we do often, when you are changing to sort of say what your needs are, we'll often skip to this very boundaried, very sort of putting walls up instead. I don't usually realize I'm not being myself at the time. I tend to realize it later down the line. I don't know how to spot it in the moment. So what I would do is, if you're not spotting it in the moment, that's okay. We tend to, when we change, we do a lot of it on reflection. So I would reflect now on the past when you've not been yourself. What do you realize now? They will likely be where you're not yourself in the future, unless you start to catch it now. I know, and again, what you'll feel it. We tend to feel like resentment. And I love this question. I like to ask myself, does this feel like betraying myself? If I was to sleep with this person right now, does that feel like I'm betraying myself? And the reason I give that example is because it's something that comes up a lot, that you will get intimate with someone before you want to, out of a fear that they will leave. And that's just one of many examples. When I act like I know what I like, everything is going well, but I don't understand why my insecurities show up sometimes. And then the overthinking. When I act like I know what I like, everything is good. I'm curious, I would need to dive into that. I'm curious about why you would act like you know what you like. So when I know what I like, everything is good. I don't understand why my insecurities show up. So they might not be related. I expect they're not related. The insecurities will be something to do with the past. Is it just trial through relationships, trying to find out what you like? Or is there some way to detect that before losing yourself in a relationship, that losing that you, and realizing that you haven't got out of the unhappy relationship in time? You need to know that when you're dating and when you're out there, there's plenty of people out there who are not the one for you, and you can leave at any time. And I think people forget that. You can leave at any time. Try and know what your sort of non-negotiables are when it comes to relationships, so that you know not to go there. And there are some boundaries where we have to go on a date or 2 or 3 to figure that out. Or, you know, sometimes people will go into a relationship, but when you realize this is not meeting my needs, I'm unhappy, you can leave. I've been told too many times that I have a crazy side. I'm now finding me and working on my self-worth. I am, something I always say, in fact, the intro to the podcast is, you are not crazy, you are not too needy, and like, you are not too much. Love, don't get me wrong, can make you feel that way. And love can also, especially when you feel insecure, it can make you do things that you're probably not proud of. It can make you do that. When we feel insecure, when we feel unsafe, we will go to extreme measures. Is the goal to reach the secure style ultimately, or is it perfectly well to be a little bit of everything from time to time? I would love to be the secure style all the time. I would say the second one, if I was being realistic. We can have a bit of the goal to go secure, but not so much that you're going to beat yourself up if you get anxious or avoidant at times. What I would tell you about this, because I'm now back out there dating, what I would say is it's much easier now to respond and notice when I'm in the presence of someone who makes me anxious and things like that. And it still happens. I remember the time I realized, oh, I think I'm going to have the anxiety there. But I've got to manage it and know that it's not real, and know that I'm safe and I'm okay, and what I bring to the table. I've been told the same thing many times. You are not crazy. You are not too much. They say that you are as needy as your unmet needs. Nice to know you're definitely not alone. Guys, you are not alone. Do you believe in the one existing? If so, why? Curious, as this seems crazy to me. I do not. I don't believe in the one. However, I do believe in connections. I just believe that we have several connections, which is why some connections will pass you by, and sometimes you will meet someone on your journey, if you haven't already, maybe more than once you have, where you felt that there was a genuine connection, but it wasn't the right time. I think that can happen. Might be that it's never the time, but that's okay. It's nothing to fear, because there's other people that you'll be connected with as well. That's what I believe. There's too much evidence to suggest that people fall in love and have healthy, happy relationships with more than one person in their lifetime. Is 2 days too long for a response from an avoidant partner, or is it just my anxious style acting up? What do you mean? Is 2 days too long for a response from an avoidant partner? I wouldn't know without knowing more about that. But again, even let's just say some people might find 2 days very normal. That's where I'm all about the communication. We can communicate these things and find out what they're thinking about the 2 days. People will then say, but no, I don't want to be too needy. You are allowed to communicate. You're allowed to ask questions. And often the response that we get will show us who we're dealing with and actually save us time. 2 days between texts. It might not be too long. You could send a text and see what the response is. I think if you're waiting and you're thinking, should I not text? Should I text? Then you're falling into the territory of sort of game playing. And I assume that's not what you want. So you'll soon find out, or you can carry on with your life, keep dating. Agreed on connections, but with this idea, is it legit to say, oh, just move on? There's another. Well, I would rather just move on if the other person's not giving me the response or meeting my needs. So I would rather just move on than fight and fight and fight for someone to see me, if that makes sense. Okay, I think we are coming towards the end now. So thank you guys. If there's any more questions, then feel free to contact me. Maybe jump into my DMs on Instagram. I think that would be the best idea. And I'll be happy to answer any further questions there. I don't coach in my DMs, but I will be happy to take a question if you've watched this. Good, I'm so pleased that you have enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here and spending your Friday with me. As I tell everyone, you are enough, you are lovable, you are so, so worthy, and you are irreplaceable. Okay, bye guys.